Welcome everybody to the Mortgage Mastermind Group's Friday top producer interview. Obviously, I'm not a top producer, and today's a little bit different class. We like to mix things up a little bit on our Friday classes. And the reason I came up with today's class, or wanted to talk to you guys about follow-up for short-term and long-term success, is because over the last few months, we've done 48 classes together. And most of the people that are on here, I've got a couple of new members. You may not have been privy or been available on all of the 48 classes that we've done, but we've done 48 classes together. And with those classes, we've talked a lot about strategy. We've talked about how to get real estate agents to see you as somebody different. We've talked about how to differentiate yourself and get a commitment from the realtor partners. We've talked about consumer direct marketing and targeting targeting buyers directly through multiple different means. We talked about it with Facebook. We talked about it with Active Rain. We've talked about a lot of different things strategy-wise throughout our masterminding together. One thing that I want to make sure is clear, and I think the part that has most of us caught up, and I don't mean to say that everybody on this call, nobody on this call has a good follow-up plan, but what I am going to say is that a vast majority of us, and it's just human nature, we as human beings are not a big fan of rejection, I guess is the way to put it. And so statistically, and I know you guys have seen these statistics, but it's important to go over them time and time again to make sure that you remember them, to make sure that it's always on the top of your mind when you're thinking about what your daily tasks are and what you need to be doing. And so these statistics are sales statistics. And no matter what it is that we're doing, no matter if our strategy is to generate or create referral partner networks, or whether it's going directly towards the consumer, we are selling. We are selling ourselves. We're selling our services. Everything that we do in marketing it's a sales approach, and that's the way we have to look at it. We are selling ourselves, not only to partners, but to consumers and everything in between. And these statistics are very telling. 48% of people never follow up with a prospect. So we get a lead come through, whether it be a consumer direct lead or a real estate agent responds to one of our messages or one of our email campaigns or whatever it is that they respond to. 48% of us, and I'm not calling anybody out on this call. That's not what I'm here to do. We're a mastermind group. We're here to hold each other's hands and hold each other accountable. So I'm not going to call out anybody specifically, but think about this. We've got, 12 people or so on the call right now with us. 48% of those people, 50%, let's say half, 6 people never follow up with a prospect. It's happened to all of us. I know I'm guilty of it. I've been guilty of it in my past, and I try to correct that each and every opportunity that I can, but 48% of people never follow up with a prospect. 25% of people make a second contact and stop. So we've now eliminated, after 2 contacts, 75% of the sales force has given up on the prospect. 12% of salespeople make 3 contacts and stop. That leaves us at 87%, guys. That's almost 90% of salespeople after 3 contacts done. 90%. I'm going to just round it up. 90% of salespeople are done after the 3rd contact. Only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. Which person are you? What percentage are you in? Now, here's the other side of that. We've just gone through how many salespeople contact a prospect to try and win business. Now the other side of it. What are the consumers doing? 2% of sales are made on the 1st contact. 3% of sales are made on the 2nd contact, and 5% of sales are made on the 3rd contact. So after 3 contacts, we've only got 10% of the sales being made. Now think about this logically. Just a minute ago, we learned that 90% of the salespeople are gone after 3 contacts. We now just understand that 10% of sales happen in those first 3 contacts. So 10% of the sales force is making 90% of the sales. That's a huge, huge statistic. That is a huge statistic, and it's something that you absolutely need to be conscious of every time you do a marketing campaign, whether it be a video email to your realtor prospects or whether it be a consumer direct ad on Facebook. You've got to think about these statistics and understand that what you're doing is it's going to work. The marketing effort's going to generate prospects. If you don't follow up properly, you will never win their business. And my good friend Bill is he's on the call with us today. It's part of conversations with Bill that led me to today's class, because you got to think about your follow-up is not just a short-term plan. It will give you a short-term effect, but you also have to look at the long-term success of what your follow-up plan brings to the table. So a few resources that you're going to need to be able to have a good follow-up formula. If you've got a small list, and I call a small list anything from 200 and down, that would be considered to be a fairly small list. If you're using a small list, well, the resource you need is Gmail. Yep, Gmail. You don't need to go out and spend money on a service. You don't need the bomb. You don't need the services. You need Gmail for a list under 200, and there's a specific reason for that, because a smaller list requires you to have a high deliverability. For you to be able to get any kind of impact out of that email, you've got to ensure that you've got a high deliverability. Now, Gmail is seen as a private email provider to the incoming email servers. It is less likely, because it's coming from a Gmail account, to be marked as spam or a promotional item. That's important in today's email marketing. And again, if your list is small, you just use Gmail to increase your deliverability rate, not because it's a better system than others, but in order to increase the number of people who are seeing your message. Because the more number of people see your message, the higher probability somebody's going to respond to your message, right? So the way that you do that on Gmail is you create a contact list. You can either upload it or enter it manually, and Gmail will allow you to send up to 200 emails at one time, just one email, 200 recipients. The cool thing is it allows you to add what's called a BCC, which stands for blind carbon copy. Blind carbon copy. So if you've got a small list, Gmail's the way to go. If you've got a larger list, you will require a service to be able to send out your email. With larger lists, it's more of a numbers game than it is with your smaller list. Using a service allows you to send a large number of emails at once. You know, if your list is 2,000, you can send 2,000 emails all at the same time. And you need a service to be able to handle that volume of email. You're looking for a good delivery percentage. With services, some email service providers are marking emails that have tracking pixels as promotional. Yahoo is blocking emails that are coming from specific servers. There are things like that that are going on. And so you have to, you know, if you send an email with a service, you've got to take the good with the bad. When you're talking about mass email marketing, you've got to understand that this is something that is going to occur when you send your email. You're going to have a certain percentage that are marked as promotional or sent into a spam folder. But here's the thing to think about. If you send 1,000 emails to people and 10%, let's say a large, and that's a large, I'm putting 10%, that's a large number. Let's say 10% go to spam. You're still delivering 900 emails to inboxes. And I like the results of that numbers game. That's a numbers game that I will play every single time. And Jeff's got a great question here. Jeff's asking you, can you break down your email list to several lists under 200 and not get busted? The answer to that is no and yes. I say no and yes instead of yes and no because the direct answer to your question is, can I have one Gmail account? And let's say I've got 1,000 names on my contact list. Can I break it up into 5 groups of 200 and send all 5 groups of 200 an email? No, I cannot. After the second 200, Gmail is going to tell you that you've reached the maximum number of sends for that account for the day. The yes side of that, And this is where it gets a little complicated, which is why I recommend that you go with a service when you get a large number like this, Jeff. You can create 5 separate Gmail accounts. As you know, with Gmail, you can make what it shows as it's being sent by the same email for all 5 accounts. Then you would have a list of 200 in each of those 5 accounts, and you would have to send one email from this account, then log into the next, send that 200, the next account, send that 200, and so on to get to your 1,000 emails. So the answer is no and yes. Directly related to your question, no, you cannot separate your list of and have multiple lists of 200 and send an email to multiple 200s out of the same account, but you can have multiple Gmail accounts. And so did multiple accounts with Gmail got busted after about a month, which is, again, you know, you're running that risk of having an account shut down, which is why I say maximize. If you're going to use Gmail, maximum number you're going to ever want to send from a Gmail account is 200, and you don't want to overdo it or, you know, manipulate the system much. Get a service. Because if you've got 1,000 names that you need to be sending to, and yeah, let's say 10% goes to spam, that's still 900 delivered emails. Let's say 20% goes to spam, that's still 800 delivered emails. That's a numbers game that I can deal with because I know I'm reaching a vast majority of my list, okay? So there is a little bit of good with bad in terms of your larger lists, but it's something that you have to be doing to stay fresh, to stay relevant, and stay top of mind. No, I've never heard of that one, Jeff. I've not heard of that one. Now, the services that we do recommend, with that question being said, I do have some services we recommend. The first being BombBomb. BombBomb is extra good if you are sending a video email. BombBomb is extra good if you're sending a video email. If you're doing videos to send out, this is the best option. It allows you to build a video landing page right inside the system, and it not only tracks your emails, but it also tracks your video views with BombBomb. Pricing on BombBomb, I brought this up just because I know some people are going to be asking. Pricing on BombBomb, and all of the services seem to have a staggered, or it depends on your list. 1 to 500 in your list is going to cost you $25 a month with BombBomb. 500 to 2,500 is going to cost you $37. If you've got over 2,500 to 5,000, $69 a month. And then if you've got 5,000 to 10,000, it's going to cost you $100 a month, right? And that's to have access to the service. Now the next one that I'm going to recommend is Constant Contact, and it's got a great reputation with email service provider servers. Great, probably some of the best customer support in the industry. They're really, really good about their customer support. The downfall is you must create your own content. They don't provide you with any content whatsoever, okay? Pricing with Constant Contact, your first 500 costs you $20 a month, 500 to 2,500, 35, 2,500 to 5,000, 55, 5,000 to 10,000, 85. Okay? And the last one is one that we are all pretty much familiar with, is MailChimp, and I brought MailChimp up. Again, I like MailChimp over Constant Contact because of it's very easy to use. It also has a great reputation with email server providers. Easy to create squeeze pages and integrate into your social media. So MailChimp can actually be that back-end platform for some of your other marketing strategies like consumer direct strategies, because it's got the built-in squeeze pages. It allows you to set up ongoing follow-up campaigns with those squeeze pages. Really robust in terms of its ability to help you grow your list. You must create your own content there, but they have thousands of templates for you to choose a template and just kind of fill your content in. MailChimp is a little bit different. Now, if you go and get a free account, they will allow you to upload up to 2,000 contacts, but you're still limited to 12,000 sends on the free account. That means if you got 2,000 contacts, you can only send each recipient 2 emails per month, or excuse me, 6 emails per month, which isn't bad. on the free version. That's not bad at all. Now, if you want unlimited number of emails that you can send for 0 to 500 contacts, it's $10, 500 to 1,000, $15, 1,000 to 1,500, $20, 1,500 to 2,000 is $25. And it appears, and I could not find anything, there was a little blip that said over 2,000, please contact us for pricing. So they're basically, they're protecting their server in essence, because in the world of, oh, and Peggy's saying Constant Contacts does also have some great templates, just on a side note. In the world of email service providers, people are notorious. The user agreement states clearly in every one of them that you will not upload or use lists of unsubscribed or people who have not requested information from you. In essence, they all require that you're using a subscribed list, people who have opted into your lists, right? Excuse me. What that 2,000, over 2,000 call us is about is that MailChimp knows that your average business, the people who are using services like this, most people do not have a opted-in list of over 2,000 names. It's just not, it's not unheard of, but it is not the norm. And so what they do is they require you to call them and they ask you questions. They will ask you leading questions to determine whether or not this is a warm or a cold list. If they make a determination that you're looking to upload 5,000 names of a cold list, they're not going to allow you to do it. So that's what that phone call for pricing is about there. And Jeff is saying the Send Grid is one that a couple of other people are using, and it's not one that I'm familiar with, but Jeff is saying it's $10 a month for 40,000 emails a month, and then it goes up from there. But you got to remember, you're talking 40,000 emails a month. So if I got a list of 1,000 people, I can send that list 40 emails this month. If I got a list of 500 people, I can send that list 80 emails this month, which you don't want to do. You're going to blow out your list. Do the 3 systems you have shown have that tracking chip, and how will it affect people receiving the list? All of the services these days have some sort of tracking pixel. All of the services out there have a way to track who's opening your email. They all put them there. That was a big hot item that people wanted, and so all of the email providers started incorporating that into their system. So yes, they all have that tracking pixel. And yes, it will affect whether or not it makes it to the inbox. But again, a high percentage of emails going to spam or being flagged that way is between 10 and 20%. So if I have a list size enough to need to use a service, 1,000 people, let's say, and 20% don't ever see my email, that's still 800 emails I'm delivering. Same thing if it's 500, and let's say 20% get knocked off the top. That's 400 people that I'm still delivering my email to. Yep, 100 of them didn't get it, but I'm okay with that, because the numbers game that I'm playing with the service dictated that I got more in the inbox because this percentage was taken off the top. It's still more worth it to you, because then you're not getting accounts flagged and everything else, and you're consistently delivering your message, which is the thing that you have to be doing, is consistently delivering that message, consistently staying in front of your prospects. Now, video equals turbocharged follow-up. Those of you on the call that have done video before, that have done it consistently, you know that I'm telling you the truth here. Video brings an element to the table that you just can't get with anything else. Video brands you as different. We talk about that all the time. How do I differentiate myself? Video gives you that opportunity with just that one application. Video allows you to stick out in a crowd. And yes, when we're talking about someone's email inbox, we are talking about a pretty substantial crowd. It is very crowded in the inbox these days. Video has a much better chance of being watched than a newsletter does of being read. I mean, I think most of us will agree, if you had 2 things sitting in your inbox, one of them's a newsletter, and one of them's a little video, which one are you going to click on first? Yeah, me too. I'm watching the video first also. I'm watching the video first also. The two main things video does for us is introduces you to people in a way that allows them to feel like they've met you. And it reminds those that have met you before how you made them feel when you met. You have heard me say this before. People do not buy based on a flyer, a brochure. People don't buy because you sent them a newsletter about the inner workings of the FHA 203K program. That's not what is making people buy. People don't buy based on what you say or do. People buy based on how you make them feel. I firmly believe that 100% of people buy based on how you make them feel. And video gives you a chance to create a feeling with people you haven't met, but it reminds people you have met how you made them feel. And that's a big, big thing to be able to do via email. You know, most of the time to reiterate that feeling of that warm and fuzzy, the personality, they got to know you, they liked you, they respect you, they think you're a great guy. Most of the time, to reiterate that, it's face-to-face or on the phone. Video gives you an opportunity to reiterate that feeling without having to be right there. It gives you that opportunity to make them feel that same way, and they're just seeing a video. Bill is saying Amazon has a sale on green screen and lighting setup for $70. It's normally $100. That's actually a great deal. For those of you who are have never done video, don't take advantage of this. I don't want you to even think about green screen yet because that's an advanced application. But for those of you who have been doing green screen for a little while, and if you've been doing video for a little while and you've been thinking of getting into green screen, that's a great opportunity. I do know what kit Bill is referring to, and it's a whole green screen kit. It comes with the green screen. It comes with the little stand to make the green screen stand up behind you. It's basically like a projector type thing, and you pull the screen down, and it comes with two lights. And these are the nice big floodlights that you put on either side of you. So it's actually a really nice kit, and $70 is a deal and a half. Thank you for sharing that, Bill. I appreciate it, buddy. So what you need to be able to do videos, you guys, I know it's a lot of really expensive equipment. The first thing you may need, how many of us on the call have a laptop computer that is newer than 3 years old? That's a lot of you. Almost everybody. Yep. So you've got all the equipment you need right now to get started with video marketing. If you've got a laptop computer that is newer than 3 years old, you have all of the equipment that you need to get started with video marketing. Not sure what a Surface is. Not sure what a Surface is. Jeff said my Surface is less than 3 years old. Now, if it's just like the Acer notebook that you picked up at Microsoft Surface, the app and laptop. Now, that's my guess is, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, that's got a built-in webcam right on the top of that laptop. Yep, sure does. That's what I figured. Okay. Now, if you're buying the Acer notepad, the notebook, the student notebook from Walmart for $139, likely not going to have the webcam that you're looking for. Most of us have a laptop that's a little bit newer. Now, for those of you who don't have a laptop newer than 3 years old with a webcam built in, is there anybody on this call, and I'm not going to call out anybody's name if you answer yes to this. I just need to know who's got equipment, who does not. The question is there anybody on this call that does not have a smartphone? It doesn't matter if it's iPhone or the better of the two, Android. Yours can be stupid at times. I can appreciate that, but it is a smartphone. You probably got one of those iPhones, don't you? Those can tend to be not so smart sometimes. You knew I had to do that, Jeff. And nobody said no. I don't have a smartphone, which is what I thought. If you have a smartphone, whether again, I don't care if it's an iPhone or an Android, you have a webcam. You have a camera that you can create and record video marketing to be able to use for your email campaigns, for your follow-up program. The phone may be smart, but the operator isn't always so smart. I can agree with that. Most of the things when I say my phone stinks, it's because of user error, 99.9% of the time. But again, guys, if you've got the laptop, you've got a webcam built in. If you've got a smartphone, you've got a camera, a video camera built right into it. You've got all the equipment that you can ever need. Now you're going to need to edit it. Well, how many of us on the call have a computer that came preloaded with Windows, either Vista, Windows 7, or Windows 8? How many of us came with a computer that was preloaded with either Windows Vista, Windows 7, or Windows 8? And I'm going to pause here for a minute and let everybody answer that. I need your participation on this because it's important that we understand. Angela does. She's got Windows 8. Okay. Who else? Who else is a Windows 8 user? Terry, okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so Bill, yep, perfect. Yeah, Jeff, if you bought the Surface, it came with Windows 8. It absolutely came with Windows 8, so you're right there. So guys with Windows, and Alan, you've got it too. Those of you with Windows, Vista 7 or Windows 7 or Windows 8, your computer came with Windows Live Movie Maker already installed. It came with Windows Live Movie Maker already installed. There is nothing you need to go out and buy. You don't need any additional software. You have all the editing software that you need right there in Windows Live Movie Maker. Now, when you get to the level of somebody like Jeff chimed in, but I also have Adobe Premiere Elements 11. Now, I'm not featuring that on today's presentation, but if you get to an advanced level with your videos, like Jeff has, he's been doing it for a couple of years now. He does it very consistently. He has moved on from the simple recording with webcam, simple recording with the cell phone. He's now doing different things and creating green screens and creating effects. You will need a software like Adobe Premiere Elements for something like that. But that's an advanced thing. That's something you do down the line as you start to get more and more involved with your video marketing, as you start to bring video marketing as something that you bring as value added to your clients or excuse me, your your partners. You can bring those things to the table. For those of you who don't do video yet, don't worry about Adobe Premiere Elements. You've got Windows Live Movie Maker built into your camera. Now, those of you who are Mac users, that's the other side of the coin, is you're a Mac user. And your Mac, I don't care what year you got your Mac, it came with iMovie already installed right on your computer. You don't need to go out and buy any software. It's got it all right there on your computer. It's called iMovie. Everything's included. You got everything you need right there with iMovie. Now, if for some reason you do not have Windows Vista, Windows 7 or 8, or a Mac computer, you still need to be able to edit. You can use YouTube. Has a editor built right in to YouTube. I've featured it on a couple of classes before. However, I'll be more than glad to share with you some of my knowledge on how to use it. I've edited videos upwards of 12 minutes long, taking upwards of 40 different clips to combine into one video. So a lot of you know I recently went on my honeymoon to a little place called Culebra, Puerto Rico. And I took my GoPro camera and I filmed every place that I did a snorkeling trip. I've got some of the most beautiful live coral and fish and lobsters and crab. I mean, you name it. I've recorded it on my GoPro. And to put that together as one movie, I simply used YouTube's video editor. Here's the cool thing about YouTube's video editor. It not only allows you to edit the video portion, but you can also make edits to your audio portion. You can dub in things. You can separate audio. You can add audio music overlays. It's a very robust editing software built right into YouTube. You don't need to go out and buy fancy softwares to be able to get started with video marketing. And I wanted to point that out because I want you to know video marketing is not a daunting thing. It can be if you want to make it that way, but it can also be something that is very simple, very easy to do, that gives you a tremendous impact in your networking and getting people to recognize you as somebody different and allowing you to develop those relationships. I can't stress enough how valuable video can be to your business. It just is. Be glad to work with anybody that's interested in doing that. Next thing to think about is, how do you get into the mailbox? No, there is not an E in front of that mailbox. I'm talking about their mailbox. Sits in front of their house. P.O. box, if that's what they use. It has become more important than ever to get yourself into your target's mailbox. Not email box, but mailbox. Here's a statistic that absolutely floored me when I read it. The average adult receives 147 emails per day. The average adult receives 147 emails per day. It has become commonplace to do email campaigns, but greeting cards and direct mail have become a forgotten strategy. It's kind of that's old school stuff, that old school mentality. Well, here's the thing. It allows you to stand out by putting your message where it's not expected. They're not expecting to get a greeting card or something like that from you. They're expecting the email stuff. That's expected. The greeting cards are not expected. With greeting cards, you can write a handwritten message in an envelope, and it's an extremely high open rate. Very likely to keep the card. They're more likely to keep the card than they are to throw it away. It's a constant reminder of who sent it to them when they do keep it, and it shows a level of care that you go above and beyond what others are willing to do, and that gives you that differentiation. I should have included this, but it also creates a feeling in the receiver. Tell me on this call if I'm wrong, if anybody feels differently, let me know. But I can't, every time I get a greeting card in the mail, every time, whether it's my birthday or not, every single time I get a greeting card, I get a feeling inside of, it makes me smile. It makes me feel good that that person sending that card thought enough of me to take the time to send me a card. And a lot of times I'll turn around and send a card right back because it made me feel so good, and I want to reciprocate that feeling. That's really what it's all about, is developing and creating that feeling. Again, it boils down to how you make people feel. That's awesome, Jeff. So Jeff has a way in California to be able to find people's business address as well as their home address. And so he's got about 85% of the home addresses of his database, about 150 realtors. That's perfect. That's absolutely great. And for the other 15%, just send it to their office. They'll still get it as if it were a delivered card to them, and it will still create that feeling within them. And this is, I don't know why I didn't click the button. This is just a graphic of what the greeting card would look like, just a basic plain greeting card. That's all there is to it. You can buy those at Walmart, Walgreens. You can buy those anywhere. You can order them offline cheaper, I think, too. Another favorite for doing the direct mail thing, and this is one of my particular favorites, and I know Alan is perked up on this because this is his specialty, is using send-out cards. Send-out cards is an actual system that you can, it does have a cost to it, but you don't pay anything to be part of the system. You pay based on what you send. And the system allows you to customize, create, and send cards right from within the system really, really easily. It saves time in the handwriting process, It has the same high open rate as your greeting cards do, especially if you send out cards, a sample of your handwriting. They can create a template for you that allows you to create those envelopes that look like they're handwritten and the message inside that look like they're handwritten. Again, they're very likely to keep the card, and it's a constant reminder of who sent it, and it shows a level of care that you go above and beyond, creates that feeling that you care about them in a personal fashion. Huge, huge deal. That is absolutely one of those things that I love it. And Alan, thank you I appreciate that. You saw me stumble in there for a second. $1.49 for each card that you send out. That includes customization, and includes the envelope, includes stuffing it in the envelope, includes the actual card, the glossy thing, the whole 9 yards. So you've got a couple of ways to do greeting cards, either with handwritten notes or with send out cards. Both are very effective, and again, especially if you use that font that looks as if it's a handwritten card, it gives you that same open rate as a regular greeting card that you did hand address, but it just makes life a little bit easier. But obviously the cost is a little bit higher, but you got to calculate the time you spend on your handwritten cards versus the time you're spending in front of the computer versus the cost of the handwritten cards and the cost of sitting behind the computer and sending them out. How much time is saved, and how much per hour does that save you? You're worth $100 an hour, right? Writing those cards is $10 an hour work. So if you break it down that way, you may find that the benefit is there for send out cards to spend the extra little bit of money. Now, if it's a bulk situation, you may want to do the handwritten card. There's a couple of different ways. The main thing, and now that you have all of your resources in order, you know where you're going to send your emails from. You've got all those resources together and in order. You know that you're going to send out of MailChimp, let's say. You're going to make a video every week. You're going to do those things, and you're going to send out cards to send out that stuff. Well, now you need to go ahead and break down and create a formula for follow-up. You're going to create an actual formula and create a formula that works for you. That was a big part of my dilemma, in preparing for today's class. I thought about having a specific steps or, here, do this on this date, but that's my formula. That's what works for me. That doesn't necessarily work for you. I feel the same way about creating our formulas as I do about using somebody else's tracking sheet. If I see a tracking sheet that allows me to track, my prospects and as they go through the process, and I borrowed that tracking sheet from somebody else, well, that's their tracking sheet. They've got a field there that says mother's last name. Well, I don't give a crap what the mother's last name is. So in essence, I'll never use a tracking sheet that isn't designed specifically for my needs. Same thing with a formula, a follow-up formula. I'll never follow somebody else's formula if it's not designed or set up specifically to meet my needs. And so when you create your formula that works for you. Your formula must be something that you can do consistently. I can't say that word strongly enough. Your formula must be something that you can do consistently. And I'm pausing on it again to give effect. I absolutely want that word to sink into everybody on this call. Cool thing about creating your formula is last week we talked about creating your compelling future. You can use your compelling future worksheet to help you create your formula. They all kind of tie hand in hand. So things that absolutely must be on your formula, and these are things that if you don't have them on your formula, you're kind of wasting your time, in my opinion. The first thing is your weekly emails, with or without video. And again, the weekly emails are essential. That's a way for you to stay in touch, to stay top of mind, to keep yourself in their inbox, to be where everybody else is. If it's a party, you've got to be at the party. Don't let yourself not be at the party because you didn't send this week's email. It's essential to have weekly emails be part of your formula. I don't care what day it is, but have your weekly emails be part of your formula. Dialing for dollars, baby. Dialing for dollars. We all must have included in our formulas, set aside some time that we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to make follow-up phone calls. That's what it's all about, is those follow-up phone calls. Going back to those statistics we talked about at the very beginning, 48% of people never follow up with a prospect. Another 12% of those people, or 25% of those people, give up after the first contact. By the third contact, we're down to 90% of the people giving up. The follow-up phone call is essential to your success. That's how you're going to get your face-to-faces. Nobody's going to call you after they saw your weekly email and say, "Oh my gosh, Bill, that is the greatest email I've ever seen. I would love to meet you for a cup of coffee and find out how you sent me such an amazing email." It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Dialing for dollars, picking up the phone and making those phone calls is where that's going to happen. And then the third thing that every formula must include is greeting cards or send out cards. Now, as far as the number of phone calls you're going to make, that depends on what your goal is directly from your compelling future. Where do you need to be? How many how many resources do you need to get to that number? From that number for the year, how many does that equal per month? What's that equal per week? That will dictate how many of those phone calls you're going to make, right? Same thing with the number of greeting cards that you're going to send out on a daily or a weekly basis. It's directly dependent on what my goal is for the end of the year. You know, if I want to be at $250,000 at the end of the year, I know that that means X number of loans per month, and that X number of loans per month means I need to do this many loans per week. Well, how many people do I want to see me as cool and see me as awesome and recognize when I pick up the phone and dial them that they're going to take my call and they're going to say to me likely, "Hey, I got your card, by the way, sitting right here on my desk. Thank you so much." Those numbers are directly dictated by your compelling future. Absolutely essential to break down that compelling future so you know what you need to do. Here's a sample formula. Now, before I pop this up, please, folks, understand that this is a sample formula. This is not intended to be a formula that you take and you duplicate. Feel free to do so if that's what makes you comfortable, but this is a sample formula. I highly encourage each and every one of you to create your own formulas for yourselves that works for you. But here's my sample. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, every single day of the week, I'm going to do 10 greeting cards. 10 greeting cards every day of the week. That's going to happen. That's part of my formula. Monday formula is going to be 10 greeting cards and call my top 20 prospect agents. And then after I'm done calling my top 20 prospect agents, I'm going to call 20 past clients. Let's say I got 500 past clients. Well, if I call 20 of them every Monday, how long will that take me to do? 25 weeks, right? 25 weeks, and then I start again. So calling 20 past clients every Monday afternoon. So Mondays, I do a lot of calling, obviously. That's a big deal for me. I know that for me, I chose 20 to be my top 20 prospects on Mondays because I know if I make 20 calls, that's going to give me 6 conversations. If I have 6 conversations, I'm going to get minimum two face-to-face opportunities out of that. So 20 calls equals 2 face-to-faces for me, right? That's how I did my numbers. Tuesday, again, I sent my greeting cards, but then I'm going to call 20 agents who don't know me. Now I'm just calling on agents who have no idea who I am. But if I follow my formula, they may know who I am because I sent them my weekly email to my entire database. I've sent them that email at least more than once. That's how they're on my list, but they don't know me yet. So 20 of them every Tuesday, I'm going to call 20 agents who have no idea who I am. Wednesday, do my greeting cards, but then I'm going to record and edit my video. Thursday, I'm going to do my greeting cards, and then I'm going to send my weekly video to my entire database. Now, if it's my entire database, let's say I have 150 real estate agents on my entire database. Well, guys, I can use Gmail, so I'm going to use Gmail. Let's say my database is 720 real estate agents. I need to go out and find a service. I would likely use MailChimp because I know that I'm not going to surpass the 12,000 email sends, and it's not going to cost me anything still. Until I build that up another 250 and get to 1,000, it's not going to cost me anything. So I'm using MailChimp, and I'm getting it out there quickly, easily, efficiently. On Friday, I'm going to send my 10 cards again, and then I'm going to call all of my partner agents. That's different than my 20 prospect agents. I'm going to call all of my partner agents and let them know if you're working, I'm working. I just wanted to give you a quick call, tell you to have a fantastic weekend. Hope you have a great weekend. Hey, listen, are you working or are you playing? A little of both. Fantastic. Well, listen, just so you know, if you're working, I'm working. If you need a pre-approval at any time, don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, give me a call. I'll answer for you. I'm going to screen some of my calls, but if I see your name come up on the caller ID, I will definitely answer for you. We'll get you your pre-approvals, and you'll be able to move forward. Have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully, I'll hear from you tomorrow or Sunday. Right? That's my setup formula. Now, notice that I've got the three things. I've got my email that I'm doing with or without video. I've got my call, my dialing for dollars that I'm doing. And I've got my greeting cards, my either send out cards or greeting cards that I'm doing. And that's, if I can do this consistently. Now, everybody on this call, look at this, look at my sample real quick. And tell me honestly, if any of you were to do exactly what's on here consistently, if you were to send out at the end of the week 50 greeting cards, if you were to call 20 prospect agents every Monday, 20 agents who don't know you on Tuesday, and all of the agents that you've worked with on a Friday, and then send a weekly video tip out every single week, do you think you would increase your business, yes or no? Agreed, agreed. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and go out on the limb. A couple of you haven't responded, but a vast majority of you have. I'm going to go ahead and go out on the limb and think that every one of us understands that if you put this formula or a formula similar to this, your own, into practice in your business, you would increase your business. Definitely. That's what having a follow-up formula or a plan to follow up will bring to the table. Skipping the part of the follow-up is the thing that will hurt you the most. Every marketing strategy works. What decides whether or not it produces a return on investment is the quality of the follow-up. That's it. For short-term results, now that's what I said at the beginning, that use your follow-up formula for short-term and long-term success. For the short-term results, following your formula consistently, and there's that big word again, that word that all of us need to focus in on and embrace and hug it, hold it tightly to your chest, because that is the big key to this whole thing. Following your formula consistently will get those who already know, trust, and like you to respond right away. These are your biggest fans and are the first to respond to your efforts. These are the people who already got that feeling from you. Your goal is to meet them face-to-face. Treat them to a cup of coffee and do the realtor needs assessment if you haven't done that with them yet. Absolutely move them down the path. For long-term results, following your formula consistently will trigger a response over time. Statistically, 90% of sales happen after the third no. And I know I keep going back to these statistics, guys, but they're very telling facts. Statistically, 90% of sales happen after the third no. Giving up on your follow-up formula or not being consistent puts you in that 90% of salespeople who give up after the second no. What percent do you want to be considered in? Are you a top 10%er or are you a bottom 90%er? I know where we each want to be, and there's a few things that you can do to make yourself be in that top 10%. Each call, email, and greeting card is, as my good friend Alan likes to say, is buying brain cells. That's a quote directly. My buddy Al, he's been saying that for a while, and I just love the way I love the picture that paints when you think about it. Every time you send an email, you make a call, you send a greeting card, you're buying brain cells. I love the picture in my mind that creates, because that's really what I'm trying to do, is buy those brain cells. You don't know how much it will take for an individual to take action. There's just no way to tell that. But consistency, there it is again, consistency ensures you will get to that level. If you don't have consistency, the likelihood is you will never get to that level of action with those people who take a little bit more time. You'll never get there if you're not consistent. The keys to success, I've said it once, I will say it again, I'll repeat it 3 or 4 times if you guys would like me to. Consistency. Consistency. Consistency is the key to success with your formula. It is your ability to create a formula and stick with it that dictates whether or not a marketing strategy works. That's what dictates whether or not a marketing strategy works, is consistency. I cannot reiterate that point enough. Guys, girls, that's all I've got for you. I see quite a few stuffs have popped in here as I'm going through the presentation, so let me just, if you've got any questions about what we covered, please go ahead and shoot them to us. I see a couple of things that are more of a comment than a question. Let's see, from Alan, had an agent post on Facebook that she was becoming the president of her local BNI group. Sent her a quick congrats card through Send Out Cards with this cover. So let me pull this up and show you what Send Out Cards can actually bring to the table. This is good. I don't know if I'm able to pull this one up or not because of the location on it, Alan. Let me try, though. Let me try and pull this up. Bear with me 1 second, guys. There you go, with that image on there, BNI Madam President. You want to talk about somebody, so here's the question I've got for you, Alan. Do you think she kept that card? Do you think she threw that one away? Because I'll tell you the truth, I highly doubt she threw that one away. She probably printed that sucker out and has it stuck on the wall on her office door at this point. Probably has it stuck, maybe even got that sucker framed and stuck it up there, Madam President. That just feels good. And I guarantee you, Alan, that one small thing, that $1.49 that you spent on that send out card, the feeling that you created with that particular agent who just became the president of her local BNI group, the feeling that you gave her, you can't measure in dollars and cents. That's something that you just cannot, you couldn't have bought that kind of feeling that you gave her by just providing her with that card and that little image, BNI Madam President. I know for me, that would have created just the pride that it would have given me and the feeling of the recognition that Alan had given. That's a feeling that you can't replace, and I would guarantee, Alan, that you created that feeling within her. And again, guys, sales don't happen based on what you said or what you did. Sales take place based on how you made somebody feel. Based on how you made somebody feel. Peggy saying, kind of reiterating my fact a little bit ago that when we were talking, oops, wrong direction. No, that's not where I want to go. Let me get back to that slide. Sorry. Okay, buying the brain cells. When we were talking about buying brain cells, Peggy kind of reiterated that fact. She says, I can't tell you how many people I get back because of the system I use for autoresponders. So she uses a system that when they register for something or they fill out their little squeeze form or she adds them into the system, there's automated responders that are set up that it takes care of her follow-up for her. It makes sure that it takes Peggy out of the equation of the follow-up, but ensures that she stays consistent with her follow-up, and those people nobody falls through the cracks. She's not one of those 48% that never follow up with a prospect, because 100% of the time it's happening automatically for her. And there are some systems out there that, and perhaps next week we're working on some stuff on the back end that perhaps next week we'll be able to talk about that system a little bit more. Just we can't do it right now. But great point, you know, having an automated system for your follow-up, especially those initial emails and things like that, is an easy way to be able to make sure that you're sticking to your plan consistently. That's why I said creating a formula that is specifically for you. Your formula makes all the difference, because in Peggy's formula, she can skip. She can skip this step because it's doing, she's already doing that automatically. That's not part of the formula that Peggy needs to have in hers. Make sense? Awesome. Guys, girls, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate hanging out with you today, each and every one of you. You jog my brain. You guys keep me fresh. You keep me on my toes. You guys keep me pointed in the right direction, and I thank you wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart, each and every one of you, for that opportunity to get to provide you with the knowledge that I've gained, but also gain knowledge on a daily basis from each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Your investment of time, I consider it an honor that you're investing your time with me and with Mortgage Mastermind Group, because truly that's all we have. That is the most valuable asset that each of us have, is our time. And so my goal every time I'm on here, every time we get together, is to provide you with a return on that investment that far exceeds your investment of time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And guys, girls, have a wonderful week and enjoy yourselves. And we'll see you right back here, same time, same channel next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you on the flip side.